and thank you so much for coming and joining us for Hanna Wieland's Artist Talk. Hanna is originally from Daisy, North Dakota, and she's going to be graduating this semester with a double major in digital design and communication. During her time at VCSU, Hanna has worked with the Valley City Barnes County Development Corporation and VCSU Foundation and Alumni Office, contributing to visual design and community outreach projects. So today, Hanna is going to be discussing her capstone project, Becoming.
Hello everyone, as Grasha said, I am Hanna Wieland. Welcome to my artist talk for my senior exhibition, Becoming. Becoming encompasses both how I have become the artist that I am today through my time at VCSU, as well as my research project about how visual identities help a brand become more than just a visual element, but recognizable as well. So just a little bit about me. I grew up on a farm in Daisy, North Dakota. I have always felt a draw to creativity, and my favorite subject in elementary school was actually art. Unfortunately, my high school didn't offer any art classes, so I never got the opportunity to explore art in an educational setting, and a lot of the exploration was done on my own time. So coming into college, I never considered digital design something that I could pursue in the sense of a career. Because I didn't really know what I wanted to do coming into VCSU, I was an undecided major coming in, but I knew that VCSU was the right fit for me because it just felt so welcoming. Taking the Intro to Digital Media class my freshman year was where the love for digital design and art really deepened. After taking that class, I decided to declare my major because I had finally found my path. Echo and the whole art department have been so helpful in me finding my voice as an artist. Before I declared my digital design major, I always felt that I wouldn't find a job that was fast-paced enough or something that I truly loved. Now here I am 4 years later. I'm double majoring in digital design and communications with a minor in marketing. Throughout my time at VCSU, I have been a part of the volleyball team, the National Society of Leadership and Success, the Design Club, and I've also been a part of the Spring Blast Committee. Off campus, I've been a part of the Summer Nights on Central Committee as well. Through my time, I have gained so much experience working on various projects and with different organizations, whether it be freelance work, with the Development Corporation, and even just in-class experience here at VCSU. Before I dive into my research project, I'm going to just give you a quick overview on branding and visual identities as a whole. Branding isn't just your logo or your name, it's actually the whole identity of a business. The colors, the fonts, the imagery, even how you present yourselves to clients, whether it be online or through print materials. A strong brand helps people recognize businesses instantly. You don't even need to see the full logo sometimes, and you just know. This also helps build trust. When a brand looks consistent and professional, people feel confident in their decision to choose you. Over time, that recognition turns into loyalty, and consumers keep coming back because not only of the experience that you experience with the brand, but also the values behind it. Investing in branding may not seem very important, but it's not just about making things look pretty. It's about creating something memorable, something people feel confident in, and then something that keeps people coming back. So we're going to do a little, I'm going to give you a little analogy and then we're going to do a little activity. So I'm going to use the analogy of a logo system is a person. So the logo is the identifiable mark. Think of this as like the face of a person. That's the first thing that you recognize when you see someone. The visual identity is the set of assets that allow a company to stand out. In the sense of a person, this is what they might wear, such as clothes. The brand identity encompasses the tone and personality of a brand. This is what a person's personality would technically be. And then the brand image is the way that the consumer feels about the brand, so the reputation that someone may have. So looking at this logo without any of the actual context of it, I'm sure a lot of you could recognize which chain restaurant this goes with. This is In-N-Out. And then same with this one, because of the repetition in their branding, you automatically know that this is Amazon without even having any words with it. And then finally, with patterns and assets, you can also see this is a very recognizable brand. And you know because of the pattern that it's Louis Vuitton just because it's so recognizable. So some previous work that has led me to the point of my gallery show. One of my most influential works was this New York piece. This helped me lean into the use of grid lines and also helped me kind of play around with mixing of colors. Because I work mostly digitally, doing something with a more physical medium like paint helped me expand my knowledge on how colors mix physically versus on a device. Next was the isometric Friends apartment. Working with an isometric grid was very systematic and it felt predictable, but in a good way. I was working on my branding approach for Budget Burger, and I felt like it was really important for me to not only create a well-rounded visual identity, but also figure out a system that feels right when I'm working on future projects. And then finally, one of the other influential projects that led me to where I am is the tarot cards. These really opened my eyes to thinking outside the box when working on branding. For these cards, I focused on using symbolism and themes as opposed to the literal definitions of the cards. When branding, this is so important because not only do you have to portray the brand accurately, but you also have to do it creatively to stand out, especially in saturated markets. Going into my work, one of my biggest inspirations is Nicole Weber. Nicole Weber is a designer on the East Coast. I actually discovered her through social media. She posts a lot of her process videos and how she does branding from start to finish. Seeing the process that she followed really helped me realize how much is communicated through a visual system. When it comes to a brand's visual identity, the design has to be not only appealing, but it also has to be telling. Every brand is so different, and that's why I feel like it's so captivating to work on them. The Bauhaus movement was from the 1900s. It actually originated from a design school in Germany. The movement focuses on combining beauty and function through the use of geometric forms, color palettes, and they also rely heavily on the use of grid lines and consistent systems. So it's very mapped out and kind of predictable. I feel like when I'm creating work, I tend to lean into these characteristics and would say that they all have influenced my style as an artist. So going into my show, I'm About Becoming. This show consists of my research project that I completed last semester on redesigning a visual identity and the importance of strong branding. And then it also has a digital reproduction of a mural that I helped paint and design in Downtown Valley, and then also a series of classical redesigns that I completed as part of my creative journey. So the first project I'm going to talk about really briefly is the classical book design. I completed this project in 2024, and this project really made me dive more into wanting to do branding because I loved taking something that already existed and altering it to fit a new perspective. This project came to me in class after I had followed Nicole Weber for a while, and it kind of just confirmed how much I kind of wanted to follow that avenue, just because it's so captivating to combine creativity, strategy, and communication into one practice. In this case, I redesigned the books to be more modern through the use of custom fonts. So as you can see in the titles, I took typefaces that already existed and altered them to be a little more hand-drawn. And then I also implemented a monochromatic color scheme for each of the books, and then I created custom hand-drawn patterns from the themes and symbolisms that reflected the books. This is another one of the projects that is hanging in the gallery. This is the Valley City mural. If you know me at all, last summer this project was my baby. I spent over 70 hours last spring and summer designing and painting the mural. This was a big process and was so insightful when I was learning to work with clients, just because it was such a big project and there were so many entities that were involved in doing it. I kind of took head on this project and I did the design. I had to actually find the building owners and contact them. And they're out of Utah, which was kind of hard to find a time to actually sit down and talk to them about it. And then we had to do the contracts, kind of making sure everything was approved and understanding the working relationship and who would be doing what when it came to upkeep and maintenance of the mural itself. I think that this project really showed me that in the real world, it takes a lot of communication and back and forth when you're working with someone to make sure that everyone's needs and wants are being met within a specific project. So looking at my process for all the projects, they are pretty similar. This video just highlights my process that I follow for creating the budget burger. So my process for all of my projects is I get a document open and I literally brain vomit all of the ideas that come to my head right away to kind of explore which direction I want to follow. So as you can see, they're very rough sketches, playing with different lockups, typefaces, and even trying out different icons for patterns, the logo itself. During this stage, it's all experimental. I really kind of play into just following anything that I can think of, just because you never know what direction you're going to go with until you get it all out on paper, and then you can really decide, like, oh, I really like this, or that one's awful. You kind of just figure it out. And then at the end, I kind of started working on some of the color palettes. So for the project itself, I chose Budget Burger to be my case study. So Budget Burger is a longtime favorite in Valley City. They serve burgers, fries, shakes, and they're pretty reasonably priced. It's the type of place where locals go for a quick lunch, families can bring their kids because they have a play area, and travelers can stop for a meal that feels a little more personable than a chain restaurant, but also is just as convenient. Budget Burger has built its identity around being welcoming, simple, and reliable. So right now, Budget Burger operates without a cohesive visual identity, which makes it difficult to communicate who they are. The brand lacked consistency across their visual identity, which makes it hard to build that trust beyond just the experience that you have there. So the image on the left is actually what they use for their online presence. That's their Facebook website uses that logo, where their signage on the building uses the one on the right. As you can see, the only correlation really is the burger image, and even then, they don't have the same image style. It's not very consistent. So my goal was to not only refine my process as an artist, but to rebrand Budget Burger to be more than just a restaurant and making sure that their story is being told through personality and their presence. If you're not familiar with Budget Burger, this is the inside, just some images of the building. As you can see, they have a lot of Coke memorabilia, and it has kind of the very classic diner vibe for a small town, so that kind of helped lead which direction I chose to go. So this is the final logo suite that I developed for them. When designing this, I focused on creating something that felt familiar, but still intentional and driven by a system. I started by simplifying the burger icon just because they already use that as such a strong visual point, so I simplified that into a graphic form so it could scale easily and be recognizable no matter what lockup it's in. From there, I built out different variations of the logo, not just for aesthetics, but for different touch points, thinking about how each of these would live on actual things like menus, signage, and even small touch points like mobile devices. The goal is to create a flexible system rather than just a single logo. Every version still feels connected to the brand without being repetitive. For the colors, I really wanted to tap into that classic, like nostalgic feeling of American diners, but I also wanted to feel a little more refined. So each color plays a specific role in balancing the system. So the blue really grounds it and kind of creates the depth. The red draws back to the Coke that they have everywhere in the restaurant and also draws attention. And then the yellow invites people in and makes it feel more welcoming. When used together, these three create a lot of contrast without competing against each other, which is super important when you're designing different things. I also wanted to make sure that the palette could extend into different applications, whether it be social media, packaging, or even just signage use within the restaurant itself. So for the typography, I wanted to focus on creating contrast hierarchy. So for the first one, I used a font with a little more personality. This actually is similar to the font that I used in the logo, but the logo one was a handmade font that I actually created, where this is just a system font, so it has the same characteristics but is a little different. And then I paired it with something more minimal and geometric for readability and balance. For the visual assets, they already use the strong checkered pattern. If you go get an order from Budget Burger, your burger's wrapped in a checkered piece of wrap, and then on the trays it's checkered. It's already something that they use. So I just expanded that, and in the deliverable that I gave them, I presented it with all the different colors. And then the top asset, I actually hand drew all of the icons within it. I wanted to create these elements to have energy and texture to kind of give them another way to show their personality as a brand. So they honestly feel like natural extensions versus separate ideas from the logos. And then this is an animation I created with one of the first iterations of the logo to present to them, kind of to use for socials or whatever they may want to use it for. So just super simple. Yeah, first logo, so it's not the final one, but that was just an example I gave to them. And then before I wrap up and we go out there, just quickly gonna talk about my future plans. I plan on graduating in May with a double major in communications and digital design. And then after graduation, I don't have a job yet, but I plan to pursue opportunities that allow for personal, professional, and creative growth. And then I just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone for coming out and listening to me. And then there will be a reception in the lobby of the Fine Arts Center. There will be snacks, drinks. Feel free to wander around. And then I'm going to open it up for any questions that anyone may have. Yes.
Is Budget Burger going to use your designs?
I have met with them about it. We actually have a meeting next week to see if they really want to commit to it, because they want to work on updating all their signage, so possibly.
What was your favorite part about the project?
I would say drawing all the elements for the pattern was super fun. I really got to use my creativity and kind of make things that represented the brand but also felt as a cohesive pattern, so that was really fun for me. Yes.
Do you think you'll do more murals in the future?
Hopefully, maybe. It's in discussion right now, so we'll see. Yes.
When during doing the mural, did you pick out the mural first and then do the digital mock-up, or the other way?
So it was we didn't know what building we were doing it on right away. So I actually did the digital mock-up first, and we had a bunch of different options for it. And then once we figured out what building we wanted to do and the size of it, that's when we kind of decided which direction to go with the design. So.
Of all the programs that you use, which is your favorite to create art with?
I would say Adobe Illustrator. I feel like it's super versatile and you can do a lot of things in it, whereas Photoshop is pretty specific to what you can do in it. And I just personally think the interface is really easy to use on Illustrator, so that would be my favorite.
What advice do you have for students who are non-majors in the arts?
I would say to follow your heart. If a project speaks to you, really lean into that and kind of figure out if that's something you wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to go into branding or digital design really until I did something that utilized that skill. So I think leaning into all the projects you're doing, especially if you're in a studio class.
How do you overcome creative block?
I often will either take a break, just completely walk away from it, or this isn't a good one and most artists will not agree with this practice, but I will completely scratch everything I've done and just start over, fresh slate. Sometimes that makes it easier to just explore a different avenue.
Have you thought of any other businesses to make illustrations for?
answer short, yes.
As a double major, I see a lot of both in here. Could you tell us a little bit about how the two fields dovetail?
Yes, so when you're creating like visual identities, the goal of them is to communicate what your brand is based on like first impression. So it really like interlaces with each other. You want to communicate your personality, but you don't want to tell the story through a logo. You want people to be attracted by your logo and like so they're interested in it, and then actually getting them to work with you or come into your business is where like you create the story afterwards. So I think they really work hand in hand together.
Any advice for students who are getting ready to do their capstone in the next year?
I would say don't procrastinate. That's a big one. You'll find yourself trying to cram it all in like the week before, like something's due, and I would not recommend that. But otherwise, I would say just like do whatever your heart desires. It's your project, kind of like showing what you've learned in your time at VCSU. So really just lean into like making it your own as well.
Is there a medium you're hoping to try, a medium of art tools to try after college that you haven't had a chance to try?
I feel like VCSU does a very good job at giving you hands-on experience with a lot of different mediums, especially in like the intro art classes you work, or you have a different section on each of the mediums that you can try. So I feel like I've kind of touched on all the ones that interest me. I think moving forward, working more with like acrylics, just more as like a creative outlet could be fun. So yeah, definitely leaning into that once I'm not working on schoolwork all the time. Well, if there's no other questions, we can make our way out to the lobby and have a little refreshment and snack. And again, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the support.